So what was this first project that really kicked off your producing career? Was there one in particular that you got and you're like, aha, this is going to be my future?
There's a lot that I was like, oh man, I don't like these. Is this my future? And then there was like a couple where I'm like, okay, this is great. Also, my style, my personal style and aesthetic is different from some of the body of work that I've done. A lot of times for a while there, I would be doing, just like pop or hip hop videos. And while I loved it, and there was a lot of really cool experiences and a lot of cool tools that we were able to use, it's not like my particular taste. It was really just an expression of the artist's interest or the artist's style or the artist's taste. So I think in the beginning, there wasn't like one moment of now I've made it, or now I can say I'm a producer. It was kind of like over a series of a couple of years of like jobs that were kind of cool, got a lot of attention, but maybe weren't my style, or jobs that were like, oh man, I'm just not gonna talk about that. I don't really like that one. Or, there's just like a whole learning curve. And I think over those couple of years, like I was able to build a body of work for myself, build some sense of a network of like different connections. And I think that one of the projects where I was like, okay, I feel very good about this came actually way later than you would think. I'd already had a full body of work underneath me before I was like personally satisfied with something that I had done.
Which project was this?
It was just this music video with Kygo featuring Miguel. And I had like it's called Remind Me to Forget. Almost forgot it. And it had a lot of pyrotechnics and slow motion, motion control.
This is the one where all this stuff is like blowing up and you're standing in the room. Yeah, this was at Production Connect. You talked about this.
I did. I talked about this at Production Connect. That was the first project where I was like, okay, now I've made it. And I had VMAs and a whole body of work before that.
And what about this project really embodied that for you, that really had that like, aha, okay, I'm a producer?
It was creatively challenging. It was financially challenging. It was logistically challenging, technically challenging. And it was, that's when we flipped union. Flipped to the union came out also because we were on like special effects and we were doing like, explosives and stuff. So I didn't plan for that. I didn't know about union work as much or how the in and outs of that. And then I'm like, oh, this is for people's health benefits. Oh, okay, great. Got it. That makes sense. Now, instead of thinking they're this overwhelming, like, oh no, be afraid of the union. Like being able to like work through all of that and make a story that was emotionally pulling on my own heartstrings, and like everyone that was working on the project felt the same way. So it was like so many layers to that production, not just the technical aspect, the storytelling aspect, the behind the scenes, the financial aspect, the safety aspects. Like you can't play with fire and be lackadaisical about it. You have to be very safe and go through a lot of different, like, as a producer, you're responsible for all these things. So I'm just like, okay, like if any explosion occurs and anyone gets hurt, it's on me. Mm-hmm. So it was a huge experience where I felt now I can call myself a professional because I have thought about the all-encompassing, overarching, from every minutia detail to the finished product and all of the different layers in between. And I was able to pull it off successfully and with a team and collaborate with a team very effectively. I was like, that to me was my first experience of like true success on all levels in one project.
And it's a very technical project, and that speaks to your technical capability, which I think a lot of producers should invest time into understanding. Yes. And I think a lot of producers do, especially once you get into maybe more of the bigger projects, you see that is a recurring theme. But being able to understand, there's going to be a lot of different projects, but as they become more technical, you got to be able to keep up with that and understand it, especially for set safety. And I know that's a big attribute that you advocate for going into any production, is understanding what's going on so everyone remains safe, because it's essentially your ass on the line at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's
and not everybody likes it, you know, but I mean, it's necessary.
And what were some of the tactics, you know, leading up to this and even post this music video? You've had a lot of work and you've done a great job of being consistent from one project to the next. Do you have any advice in terms of strategy when it came to networking or just like laying your cards right?
Maybe I'm unaware of the details of my strategy.
Yeah.
I'm not like playing the game of chess in that way. I just like do what's natural. I follow my gut, and I try to be as respectful as possible. And if I make mistakes or whatever, I do try to resolve them if they can be resolved. I don't really have a strategy.
Yeah. Where did you find yourself networking a lot, or was it just you executed a project really good and then the next one showed up because you proved yourself?
I think great producers network. I'm not good at that. That is not my strength. I'm honestly very reserved. I really enjoy being alone at home and not talking to anybody. I think that's where I find I re-energize myself. It's just being with myself. So networking isn't something that I am good at, although I do know so many incredible producers that are skilled at that. And that's kind of like their forte. And it's like, no wonder, like, they're great networkers. For me, my strength is just executing a project effectively, efficiently, and as smoothly as possible. Taking on a challenging project and succeeding is kind of like my personal strength in terms of production.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what were some of the harder aspects of becoming a producer when you were first starting out? Do you have any anecdotal, like, baptism by fire moments that you could speak to, or just things every producer should understand?
I think one of the honestly biggest challenges for me was stepping outside of my own self and trying to constantly put myself in other people's shoes, because I was a little fiery at the beginning. I'd be like, what do you mean? I don't understand. This is how it needs to be done, you know? And I'm very intelligent, you know, in a lot of ways, but socially is something that I felt to be a bit of a challenge. And now when I, you know, after many years and experience, it's definitely it speaks to my personality. Not everybody has these same challenges. Everyone is a very unique individual and has their own set of strengths and weaknesses. But for me, now I understand, like, a very valuable thing is collaboration. Filmmaking isn't just about the producer. It's not just about the director. It's about everyone. It's like an ecosystem, you know, the water, the air, the atmosphere, the way, you know, it all works together, the clouds, or like an environment, and that, you know, every little piece is like part of the collective. So understanding different perspectives and learning how to communicate effectively, I would say, was one of my earlier challenges with my personality, and learning how to be a people person without being a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that vulnerability, because I think, especially with how the industry is changing in terms of being collaborative, we're seeing that a lot more. I think prior to maybe where we are now in the current state of the industry, it was really easy to romanticize being the one that's like, this is exactly what I want and we're going to get it done. And I still think you have to have that singular force, maybe someone at least leading it, but that doesn't mean you completely dismantle everybody in the process.
Exactly.
And I don't think you're the only one that has gone through that. I think a lot of people, especially early in their careers, you kind of see, you know, directed by or produced by, and you think these are the tour de force people. these are the ones that did it. This is how I need to model myself. And it's easy to fall down that slippery slope of forgetting all of the other hundreds of people that, especially when you look at some of these major motion pictures and TV series, bigger music videos that you've worked on, there are a lot of people behind the scenes that are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into it, just like you. You might be in the position to organize it and manage it, but that doesn't mean they aren't as a part of it as you are.
Absolutely. And, the more sets you're on, the more you understand that.
Yeah.
And the bigger the jobs are, the more you realize that even as an artist, like I'll never forget on my recent project with Lana Del Ray on Candy Necklace, she was like, this project isn't about me. It's about Budlong. And I was like, who's our key grip? I was like, it's about our key grip. And then I was like, oh, I get what she's saying. And Budlong looks over there and he's like, huh? Me? Like, why me? But I get what she's saying is like, the filmmaking process isn't just about the artist. It's about the whole experience and everyone's role in it and everyone's part in it. So like I like to say like we're all equal in the sense of like the PA is equally as important as the producer. I have different roles and responsibilities that puts me at a higher level of management because I have to have a much stronger skill set and seeing a project from ideation to completion. So that's where I'm at and paid what I'm paid. But in terms of like being on set, like every role is equally as important. The money differences and it's kind of aligned to me with the amount of responsibility. Like a PA gets to go home at the end of the day and just sleep and never think about it again. I could never do that.
Yeah. And for those that maybe are looking at your career and wondering what a producer is, could you paint the whole production team where producer falls into that, just so they understand the different moving team members?
Yeah. So it's interesting because production is one of those departments that kind of like some of the roles and responsibilities shifts a bit depending on your format, whether it's television, movies, music videos, commercials. But overall, like an executive producer is gonna like pull in the job or pull or sell the show, be a part of the creator or finance the show. And then kind of like start in the ideation phase and see it throughout. They can be very hands-on or they can be somewhat hands-off depending on their involvement and what the agreement was. For me, I'm always hands-on.
Yeah, because I hear that with executive producers, especially on movies, there's a lot, and they could have done something as maybe like made an introduction to help get financing or something and get a credit, right? So it just kind of depends on what that deal is.
Exactly. And then you have like executive producers, like for example, Zendaya, she, was part of the creative process, part of the beginning, also acted in Euphoria and whatnot and so on. So she's also involved in the in some of the deal making side of things with the crew. She gave them some of her points on the back end so they could make more money. Like she was very involved in a lot of ways. And, some executive producers are highly involved like that. And some are just like, I got a guy at Netflix. We've got first look. Here you go. I'm going to take EP credit. And then they just keep making their deals and move on to other projects. So just it's kind of like production is one of those, like there's no one right way to do it. In terms of the rest of the positions, you've got your producers, your line producers, which can sometimes be the same thing, sometimes not. And then you've got your production supervisors, your production managers. It's a similar role. Just a different term depending on the format. And then you've got your coordinators, your account managers, you've got PAs that are set PAs, you've got office PAs, you've got PAs that are for your AD team that help run the set, and then some that are just specific for the production tasks and needs. So it's kind of like one of those departments that kind of does a little bit of there's like a little, it's not like a clear, I'm a first AC, I pull the focus. Whereas like in other countries, the roles and responsibilities of a first AC or a gaffer or key grip might be different than it would be in the US. In production, it's kind of like the same, but all here in the States, it can be a little bit different depending on the format.
Right. And where would you say the best starting point for someone, obviously a production assistant, someone who doesn't know anything about production, that's a really great starting point. But for someone that wants to be a producer, what is like, I guess, a good trajectory for them? Is it just trying to start producing your own work or become close with another producer to maybe shadow them? What is your advice on just getting on that path?
Honestly, I didn't really have a mentor, and I wish I did. And I try to mentor a lot of people through some people have called it Jamie boot camp. I'll just like kind of throw them in the fire and be like, hey, I need you to do this, and kind of let them learn as they go. Some people don't like that, but they're also now incredible producers, and probably some of them make more money than me. So it's like, I gave you opportunity, but they took a hold of it and maximize on that opportunity for themselves. And so I just kind of was able to create a space of opportunity. But at the end of the day, it's not like I'm responsible for the success of their careers. They're responsible for themselves. So I do really enjoy mentoring so they can see how I do things and then choose for themselves what style they like, what they liked about what they learned from me, what they were like, oh, I'm going to do that differently or whatever, make it their own. But the fact that they have a space to start out, to throw them in and give them opportunity, I didn't really have that. It was kind of a little bit harder for me. So I really do, I do like to provide that mentorship. And I think it's just like, it's a cheat code,
And that's really great. It's awesome to be able to have a mentor. And for those that can't, I feel like you've always been a great source, especially on your Instagram or just in general. You're very approachable. So for anyone that has questions, definitely just like reach out to Jamee on Instagram. I know that she's more than happy to talk. Filmmakers Academy is a great platform for that as well. But I'd love to pivot to your most recent project, which is Lana Del Ray's Candy Necklace, and just talk about that process and when the project first came across your desk. And I want to know, what are you considering when you get a new project? What are you looking for attributes wise? And was there anything specifically that really stood out about this project and why you wanted to be involved?
Yes. I got the opportunity brought by a colleague of mine. His name's Justin. We kind of like, he's the one producer in my line of work where like, if there's a job I can't do, I'll give it to Justin and vice versa. Whether that's TV, movies, like he and I have both done everything from low budget music videos to feature films and television shows. So we both kind of like get the versatile type of roles and we can kind of tackle that. And he's the one guy that's like, I know that if he can't do something, I'm happy to step up to the plate, and vice versa. If I really can't finish this project for like, if I get sick or whatever it is, I'm like, Justin, I can't do this. He's the one person that I can like minutia the job to. So he calls me, he's like, hey, I can't do this job. I've got, I'm on another project. And I was like, I would love to, because honestly, I worked with the director and the DP many years ago, and I haven't worked with them in like 6 or 7 years, and I loved working with them.
Who was the director and DP?
The director was Rich Lee, and the cinematographer was Chris Probst. And the two of them together, they just have such a healthy relationship, and they've worked together for so long that they don't really need to talk on set as much. There's like, do we do this, do this, that? Like they almost like understand each other's like body language and style and eye and the shape of light and this. And so it's really wonderful to be a part of that team and to work with them. And I was really looking forward to it. And also I hadn't worked with Lana before, surprisingly. And I always admired like all of the way that she goes about creating the Lana Del Ray experience. And I've just I really enjoyed that. So I was like, I would love to work with her. And she was absolutely lovely to work with.